Hello, welcome to Radio 4's Consumer Programme. Today, the people trapped paying thousands of pounds in fees for timeshare holidays they can't use.
When you look at it in the long term, it looks cheap enough, but then by the time you add on the flights and all the things, it actually ends up to be quite expensive. I think that this year, because we were not allowed to use it, I feel that we've been hard done by it.
We'll be finding out what your rights are if you own a timeshare. You're listening to You and Yours. It's 12:30. We've been talking a lot on this programme about refunds for holidays and flights that had to be cancelled because of the pandemic. But what if you're one of the hundreds of thousands of people in the UK who have bought a timeshare? Timeshare holidays were really popular in the 1980s. How they work is that you make a big one-off payment to stay somewhere, a property or a hotel, for a number of weeks a year, and you have to pay annual maintenance fees. Well, almost all of the timeshare resorts worldwide are still charging those maintenance fees, even though a lot of people just weren't able to go on their holidays this year. John House from the East Midlands has had a timeshare in Spain with Marriott Vacation Club for 20 years now. He originally paid £19,000 for 2 weeks. He now has just 1 week in June.
Marriott, it's a very good product. It's a very nice resort. We have access to a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment, and for that we pay an annual maintenance fee. This year it was just around €1,100, which is about £1,000, and we pay that maintenance fee every year.
How do you feel about that in a normal year?
When you look at it in the long term, it looks cheap enough, but then by the time you add on the flights and all the things, it actually ends up to be quite expensive. I think that this year, because we were not allowed to use it, I feel that we've been hard done by it, to be truthful.
You weren't able to take your week in June. Marriott Vacation Club still expect you to pay the fees. When you contacted them, what did they say about that?
Well, basically, we were given a sort of a fait accompli. What they said was, you can't come to the resort is closed. I asked them about what recourse we had to recover our funds, and they said none. What we will do is we will transfer this week to a company called Interval International, who actually are owned by Marriott Vacation Worldwide Corporation. So what they've done is that they've shifted that week over to a clearinghouse that they own, and we have to pay to join that as well to be able to use the week that we've already paid for. There's no guarantee that we'll get a week. They've only given us a year to which we can use it. There's no guarantee that we can use it or where we can go. And the range of properties is vast. It's not just the Marriott product, so to speak.
What did you have to pay to belong to the clearinghouse?
I think it was an extra £96.
And that's an annual fee as well, is it?
Yes, it is. I've only chosen to do it for 1 year. To use the week that we already have paid for, we've now got to go through Interval and pay their fees and any other costs associated that they wish to levy upon us.
That's John House. Well, we contacted Marriott Vacation Club. They said their members are contracted to pay these maintenance fees to cover the ongoing upkeep of their resorts. And they say the fees aren't linked to any specific holiday. A spokesman told us each of their members has been given options for other holidays to use at other times. And Marriott says it has around 660,000 timeshare members and has a 90% customer satisfaction rate. Well, the Timeshare Consumers Association offers advice on timeshares, and it surveyed more than 1,400 timeshare owners and found that in all but 3 cases, no refund of maintenance fees had been offered. Laura Johnson is a consumer advisor with the European Consumer Centre. It's funded by the European Commission and the UK government. Laura, have you had complaints about timeshares this year?
Hi,
Hi.
thank you for having me
You're
today.
welcome.
Yes, it is something that we have seen, not as much as we've seen complaints in other areas, but timeshares have been cropping up about the fact that people can't go, yet they have still paid for the right to go, and also the issue of maintenance fees, which is a slightly separate issue to the right to stay.
Well, let's talk first of all about the weeks that people have paid for. Do you have any right to any kind of a refund with a timeshare for weeks that you have bought but cannot use because of COVID?
Okay, so when people pay for a timeshare, they pay a lump sum, which allows a regular stay, so either a week a year or 2 weeks a year, for a certain period of time until the contract lapses. So theoretically, that initial payment should be divided between all of the years, and each year is worth X amount of money. Now, if you're not able to then go and stay for one of those years, then it's not unreasonable to expect to have a refund for that, because there is no foreseeable situation in consumer law where a business can keep your money and not provide you with a service.
So what would it be, a question of someone taking it to court?
Potentially in the long run, it could be a case of taking it to court. However, way before then, we definitely recommend that people should try and speak to their companies. We know that letters sent formally by registered mail have a better reaction than emails and phone calls. With customers that have timeshares with businesses located within the European Union, they can come to us. We'll happily advise them, and where possible, we'll try and contact those timeshare companies for them as well, and see if we can try and reach some kind of an agreement for them.
Now, on the maintenance fees, the people who represent the timeshare companies, they're called the Resort Development Organisation, they have just told us they think it's too early to decide whether any maintenance fees should be reduced or refunded. Do people who've bought timeshares have any legal rights there?
We need to look at the maintenance fees themselves and what they are dependent on and what they're used for. Now, there could be an argument to say, well, actually, if the resorts are closed, they're not having the traffic going through them, will they require the same amount of maintaining through 2020 as they would have done in 2019, or they may do in 2025, hopefully once, things are back into a normal situation. So if the level of maintenance required is lower, then again, there may be an option there to try and reclaim at least a portion of those maintenance fees, but it may be difficult right now to foresee exactly what will be required.
And again, a court would have to decide. If the company says no, and you still think you might have a case, you'd have to be willing to take them to court.
That is the end of the line, unfortunately, that if you can't get an agreement from a business, it may be court action. But there could be other options. If people have paid using credit cards, or they've had finance to purchase their timeshares, there may be additional rights if they're with a UK finance organisation as well.
Now, what about the offers that people like John Howes have been made, that you can have an extra holiday week next year? Do you just have to accept that?
No. In some countries, there are kind of emergency laws that have been put in place. As far as I'm aware, none of them specifically cover timeshare. Usually the situation would be, if you've paid for a good or a service that can't be performed, you're entitled to be put back in the position you'd been before you've made that payment. There's nothing that says you have to accept a postponement or a voucher or a credit. Obviously, if it's a service that you're going to use anyway and you're happy to accept that, then that's great. But if you don't want to, then we definitely think you should fight for your right to receive your money back.
Laura Johnston from the European Consumer Centre, thank you.